Mike Scharfenberg, Game Plan U today, and welcome to another Thursday edition of Interview with Influencers. And as always, thank you for spending part of your day with us. As always, this show would not be possible without you guys. So thank you again for all the support. So before we have another big time guest slated and lined up for you, he's waiting behind the scenes. But before we bring Craig out, just one quick exciting announcement from Game Plan U and something on our end. So kicking off on October 24th is the inaugural Game Plan U Fall Founder Sprint Competition. So for those of you that don't know, what we do behind the scenes at Game Plan U, and our main role is connecting and working with sport tech startups and connecting them with investors, collaborators, all that stuff. So kicking off October 24th will be the sprint. It's a head-to-head bracket style tournament that will match up all of our 32 startup founders against each other. So each founder will have their own profile, 60-second pitch of their business. We'll go through a rating system on all different aspects of their business. And the coolest part and the interactive part is all of you will be the judge of the contest. So fan vote will determine who advances in the tournament. So that'll just be great for all of you to see different aspects of the industry, your sports betting, your fan engagement, your wearable technology, all of that stuff that isn't really taught in the classroom, give you the opportunity to see the future of the sport industry. So keep your eye on that. Keep following Game Plan U social channels. And there'll be a lot of information over the coming days and weeks on the sprint. So without further ado, let's bring out our special guest. He is the Director of Sales and Service at the University of Connecticut. So without further ado, let's give a big virtual round of applause to Craig Carino. Craig, how you doing?
Good, Mike. How's everything on your end?
It's going well. It's going well. It's it's definitely a different time, but taking it, like we said, day by day and just doing the best we can, huh?
That's right. That's right. Well, first and foremost, just want to say I appreciate you having me on. You and I over the last few months have been able to stay connected, which has been great, and it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Love to always talk about what's happening in the industry, and no better time than now, right? As far as sharing ideas and talking about ways in which we can help one another stay connected. That's the biggest piece here. So again, I just really appreciate you having me on, and look forward to the discussion today.
Absolutely. I love it. And again, thank you for taking the time. Really excited. I know we've had some great talks behind the scenes, and I know this is going to be a great talk out there to help all those career seekers. So really excited there. So before we get the ball rolling and put the spotlight on you and your journey, just like to cover, I know it's been a breath of fresh air for me growing up here on the East Coast and in Connecticut. UConn's back in the Big East. I know that was growing up on UConn basketball, the Big East tournament at MSG. We if you want to go how deep our family's fandom is, our dog name is Kemba, and we got him after the championship run. So exciting stuff. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and kind of what has been the buzz around Connecticut with the move back to the Big East.
Yeah, man, it's you and I both know, I actually grew up in central Connecticut, a town called Berlin, and funny enough, both my parents actually went to UConn. That's where they met. So, as far as, anyone who's from Connecticut, they know we don't have any professional teams. So like realistically speaking, when you're growing up, it's like, hey, basketball, UConn basketball is it. And a part of that goes hand in hand is being a member of the Big East. So there's nothing makes me happier just as truly, just from a fan standpoint. And even now, as I step into this role here, it's so refreshing to see the Big East logo, plastered all over the place because it's home, and that's really what we've been saying because it's true, and there's nothing better than playing those big opponents from the Villanovas, the Georgetowns of the world. Those are going to be the games that, are really, really exciting. And not to mention, can't say UConn Big East without talking about the Mecca, the Garden and the Big East tournament, so that's also something that's very exciting. It's going to be a good time, and it's a great time to be a Husky.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So with that said, let's dive into you and your career. So, this is always my favorite part of the show is highlighting the journey because everyone has a different journey to get to where they are today. And it's really that journey that really helps build who you are. So I know you've kind of moved around in between some different sports. You started with the New Britain Rockets just in ticket sales, jumped over to the Hartford Wolfpack, made your way up to URI as your first venture in management, and then now found your role with UCONN. So talk a little bit about how you got your start in sports, how you got your foot in the door, and then how that first experience went for you.
Yeah, I'd love to, man. So it's always crazy to think about, but from the time that I could remember, thinking about what I would want to do. I think everybody who played sports and loved sports growing up, the obvious answer is you want to be professional athlete, right? For me specifically, play for the Red Sox, but wasn't in the cards for me genetically, unfortunately. But hey, the next piece of that is working in sports. And, I knew that was going to be the direction I wanted to go. And to be transparent, I wasn't exactly sure as to, in what capacity. But what happened was down the road, the New Britain Rockcats, from where I grew up, they were down the road. Now they're the Hartford Yard Goats. But they had an opportunity and I had an opportunity to interview for an assistantship with them. And, at that point, I was just out of college. Bounce around. I think I was working at Hertz Rent-A-Car, and I just was so hungry. That's all I remember. I was so hungry, and no one could have told me no, that I wasn't going to earn that position. So I was lucky enough to go into that interview, and I must have portrayed that and exactly how I felt, because I was offered the assistantship and had the privilege of running their youth and amateur baseball program. So basically, I'd be, going out to different board meetings at night all across, the state, and I'd be pitching on fundraisers and different ways we could get the kids down the field and taking part in group experiences. And it really, really planted a seed as far as my passion, and it showed me kind of what direction I was headed. And I just loved it. I loved every part of it. And I think that I was incredibly lucky to have that opportunity. And I'm even more so pleased that I kind of am aware of it. And from there, the next step was, after going through that grind, earning a full-time job, being able to build up that program, the wear and tear of the minor league life, as some who are listening probably, are either currently involved in or have been in the past. Even in the world of sports with long hours, minor league sports is a different breed, man. You're out there, you're doing your job, you're pulling tarp in the rain, man. You might as well be serving a hot dog at some point. And it's great. I say that and I'm so happy that I had my start in minor league sports, because it really exposed me to having to do a lot of different things, wear a lot of different hats, and be more well-rounded. But it also started my passion for sales. And that's really kind of what led to the next piece, was when I moved over to Hartford Wolfpack, who is the minor league affiliate of the Rangers. And not that big of a hockey fan. I'm still a jaded Connecticut, resident after the Whalers left. I remember going to the last home game when I was, I think, 8 years old in '97 with my father, who was a season ticket holder. So they lost me a little bit there, but I was able to kind of get that fire back as far as a hockey fan. And I went there as an account executive. And the director at the time was Ilka Kortesaloma. He's now the VP of ticketing up with the Flyers. Taught me a lot about sales and techniques, and how you truly can persuade folks, and how to go about it more so from a broken down and training perspective. It really was straight from the Flyers sales playbook, and it was really a great opportunity for me. There for 2 years. Little did I know he was actually heading out and going back to work for the Flyers. He had been there prior to the Wolfpack too, but he gave me a heads up. Knew I wanted to get into management. And then he found out that URI was hiring and starting up an outbound sales department. URI, for those of you who don't know, is University of Rhode Island, and they are my alma mater. So it was, I couldn't have scripted it any better, to be completely honest with you. The opportunity was presented to me after I went out, and I interviewed for the role, and then I ended up moving out to Rhode Island, was there for 5 years, and started an outbound sales department from scratch. one of the best experiences, one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And really just talk about getting thrown into the fire. That was the epitome of it. But we had a great support staff out there. Maureen McCarthy, who's the assistant AD of ticket operations out at URI, has been there for a good while. Leah Becky is the GM, Spectra Venue Management, who run the Ryan Center. They were able to, provide me with the support and the tools to be successful. And we were. And that was funny enough when Hurley had just gotten there. I think I got there a year or two after he had arrived. I knew what he was capable of, just from being a fan and staying consistent, as far as keeping up with his career. And lo and behold, he built a powerhouse, man. And they ended up making it into the NCAAs. If it wasn't for a last minute comeback by Oregon, they would have been heading to the Sweet 16, I think in 18, 19, or no, maybe 17, 18. I get them confused. But the following year, they actually had a lot of returners, and they ended up going and beating Trey Young in Oklahoma in the first round too. So they did a lot of great things there, and we were able to build that department up, sell a lot of tickets, really get a group sales department kind of uploaded and running at full steam, and a lot of initiatives with local groups. So that was fantastic. And I was always very, very proud, of doing that and being able to get them in a good position as far as being able to, move forward and keep it going. So from there, after about 5 years or so, I wasn't per se looking. I knew that I was getting to a point where I was feeling a little, not stagnant, but I needed a little bit of a challenge, I felt, and I think everybody can relate in a sense where you get to a point after a while where you feel like you may need a little, maybe change of scenery or maybe a little added challenge. And boy, did I find that, as far as getting an opportunity to interview and come over to UCONN. It's, again, if I could script it, I couldn't have scripted it any better. UCONN, who, I now work with the Aspire group, Bill Fig and Tony Garrett, just two amazing professionals, two amazing guys who have, given me the opportunity, along with Wes England, from the UCONN side, to take over their outbound sales and service department, and it's a huge opportunity that I do not take lightly. And I wake up every day very thankful to be where I'm at, because, this is exactly why I got into what I got into. It's an opportunity for me to be around a program that I've loved since before I could even think about that, or it was just ingrained in me. Both my parents being UConn alum, I grew up going to all the games. Remember, Khalid Alameen's, the Rips, the Ray Allens. It's just, it truly is, ingrained in me, and I couldn't be happier to be here back at the Big East at home and leading the sales and service team with the Aspire group at UConn.
I mean, what a better time to come back to Connecticut and UConn is when we're going back to the Big East. Like you said, you couldn't have scripted it better. And I loved when you talked about the grind in minor league baseball. I'll tell just a quick story. The first day I showed up, all excited. So for those of you who don't know, I spent time with the Hartford Yard Goats. Again, like you said, the New Britain Rock Cats. And first day showed up all nice, shirt and tie, brand new dress shoes. Oh, it was fantastic. And
I know where this is going.
Yep, the GM, Mike Davidson, tapped me on the side. He said, "You look fantastic, kid. But tomorrow you're going to want to bring some shorts and some old shoes." So that was the pull out of the tarp, the annual one. So I learned real fast. But no, I think minor league baseball, you hit it great. You get to kind of see everything and get your hands in everything. And I think that's key in management, right? Is you have to be able to not only manage and communicate with all different departments, but you got to be able to manage a bunch of different personalities. So I love that point, and let's build off there. So your first role in management at URI, all the way over to UConn now, like, what is it about management that you were like, I want to work my way to get there? And then follow that up with, like, what are some traits that you feel, you see in a quality leader?
Sure. Great questions. Yeah. There's going to be a trending theme here, and you would think, yeah, obviously, but that's sports in the sense that what it's kind of taught me and why I've had a passion for it my whole life is the comparisons between sports and life they just continue. The older I get, the more and more I recognize the comparisons, and it's just, it really does teach you how to deal with some of the ups and downs, how to bounce back and be resilient, how to work together, how to communicate. And, I think that I've always gone about things one way, and that's 110%, whether it be, whether it be at work, whether it be growing up and actually playing a sport. I could never dial back, and for better or worse. And that is something I would never change, for better or worse, to be honest with you, because the way I look at it is, if you're going to do something, you better do it as hard and as best you possibly can. And people respond to that. People respect that. And, you talk about leadership, for, whatever reason, people are, a little bit crazy. I've naturally, in a sense, kind of feel as though maybe because I try to lead by example, I try to do things the way that I, expect and would hope that others would do. And I feel like everybody should work that way, and everybody should be able to work as hard as they possibly can in whatever they are doing. And I just think that, when you can do that, people respond, as I mentioned. And, I think the next piece of it, as far as what you said, quality traits for leadership, is the leading by example. It's making sure that you are genuinely caring about and staying intact with, whoever you are leading. Hear your folks out, and especially in times like these. You need to make sure that you're pulling them aside, and it's not always business. You need to make sure that you're seeing how they're doing. And I mean, from a work standpoint and from a mental standpoint. Thankfully, there's been a lot more, talk recently about, mental health and stuff. And I feel as though that's a very important topic that a lot of leaders, managers need to be aware of. Your employees are humans, and you may have numbers, that you're trying to hit and trying to retrieve. You need to take a step back and really think about how they're doing, because it's all wrapped into one. If somebody has something going on outside of work, they can't really perform to the best of their ability, and you might not be able to help that. And it might be a little bit of a dicey road, trying to navigate, but at least let them know that you care, and that you're there for them, through the ups and the downs. So I think, people recognize that, I have a genuine empathy, I have a genuine care for folks. If you're a part of my team, it's ride or die, man. I respect, and I know from my time being in a role of an account executive, how much of a grind it is. From the very first time I stepped foot, at the Roccat Stadium through up today, I understand exactly what of a grind it is, and you need to make sure that you're recognizing that. And sure, you need to, keep them in line, making sure that they're doing everything that is expected of them and that you have asked of them. But in that same time, it's of immense importance that you need to make sure, that they're doing okay, especially during these crazy times. So, I went off a little bit on a tangent, but, and from questions in terms of leadership, what was the other specific? Did I miss anything that you had asked?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. And a really great transition with the mental health piece and what we're going through now. I mean, nowadays, with everything outside of the office, there's so much going on in our world, right? That it's like, and we're all going through it together, but it's so important to understand what people are going through and listen. So a great, again, transition to the next topic conversation here. Without getting into the weeds, what are some of the challenges and things that you guys have seen? You could keep it in the collegiate space, right? On the sales and service side over the last few months since COVID dropped, and what are some things that you guys have done to at least combat those things?
Sure. So I didn't mention the dates as far as when I got to UCONN, but believe it or not, my first day was February 3rd. So if you guys are keeping track at home, when everything kind of broke, it was about 6 weeks from that. It was mid-March when they were canceling tournaments, and the sports world and the entire world was turned on its head, and everything has been different since. So to summarize it, as far as the last few months, and really my first few months on the job here at UCONN, it's been an absolute whirlwind. It's been difficult. Not going to sugarcoat it. There's been a lot of challenges. Not only am I trying to balance the getting a new position, but also it's a new company with the Aspire Group, who have done everything in their power to really give me the tools and the support to be successful, which I'm incredibly thankful for. I referenced earlier Bill Fagan, Tony Garrett. They've both been an immense help as far as, making sure that I'm in a position and I feel comfortable, to succeed. And then the next piece is, Wes England from the UConn side, Neil Eskin, both have helped me be comfortable from the UConn and to get integrated with everybody on the UConn side. Because essentially when you're working for a company that's outsourced by a property like, a college, you need to almost learn 2 new jobs in a degree, and it's been a lot. And then you add in the whole COVID aspect, and it is what it is. It's complicated, but we're still in a position to succeed with the support that we have, and I think that realistically speaking, if the challenges are what everybody in the industry is dealing with, the unknown. I can't stress enough how take everything aside, take all the craziness out of there. I would almost rather get, bad news as opposed to just no news. And right now I feel we're in a position where it's just limbo. And when I say, bad news, we're waiting for so many, chips to fall in terms of, will we be able to have capacities? What's the season even looking like, to a degree? And it's gone down in stages, but it's been incredibly drawn out. And it's difficult to deal with. But here's the deal. You need to control what you can control. You have to handle and, work as hard as you possibly can to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. I mean, that's something that I've always lived by, something I try to strive and do every single day. You need to think about every type of scenario that could possibly play out and have a plan. And then that way, when something happens, you're prepared, at least to a degree where you can have a starting off point to head in a direction and try to combat whatever challenges you've come across. And more so than anything else, as we move forward, we've gone through what I hope is some of the worst, hopefully the worst portion of this pandemic. I hope we're heading in the right direction and back to some relative normalcy. And for me, the biggest thing is I want to get the fans back in the stands, man. Just like everybody else, there is nothing. And don't get me wrong, watching, say the NBA, who have done a fantastic job, let me say, about everything they've handled with the bubble, the digital fans, the experience from a standpoint of someone at home, you can't even really tell the difference. I mean, you can obviously, but to a degree, they've just done a fantastic job with that. But I'm like everyone else. And another reason why I love what I do is every time it's a game day and I get to walk out into the stands, that I had a part and a helping hand in filling and having that crowd, that energy. There's just no words to describe it. It's just the best feeling in the entire world. And I think everybody can agree that we just want to get back to having fans, having a good time, enjoying the experience, being able to provide your fans and your patrons, clients, season ticket holders, donors, etc., the opportunity to get out and, take a step away from what their life is, whatever's going on in their life, to really just have a good time, kick back and enjoy themselves and just feed off that energy, man. That's kind of what I miss the most at the moment, and really looking forward to getting back to that at some point, hopefully in the near future.
100%. There's nothing like hugging strangers after a big play. You can't beat it. And it's one of those things. That's what we do. We create the memorable experiences, and I think now more than ever, it's so needed just to bring people together. It doesn't matter what your political view is, what your belief. It doesn't matter. We just come together to watch a UConn game, to watch a Yankee game, Met game, and just unite and just have a great time. So I love that point. And I love something else you said too, is if we make it through this, what is, especially from a sales side, like, or even from just a normal career side, you don't get a job.
Yeah.
You live through COVID, the worst pandemic since 1918. Like,
yep.
This is just, look for the bright side, stay positive. So I love all of that stuff.
That's something quickly, Mike. Yeah. I feel like everyone can agree at this point that if you have, weathered the storm or even just been alive during this time, pretty much can all just put that on our resume as far as survived, the year 2020. I think that is an agreed upon on all accounts.
Yeah. I mean, 2020, you got to keep growing on that. But, just from the start of the year, it was like, it just keep it up there and learn the lesson, but let's move on. So in regards to, let's kind of shift the conversation now to the heart and soul of the podcast, and that's the career seekers.
Mm.
So something very important in the sports space, but just in life, is having a mentor or mentors, having someone there to help guide you to get you to where you want to go. So can you speak a little bit about the value you see in having a mentor or mentors, and then in your past experience, like what have some of those relationships look like?
Yeah, this is one of the most exciting things that why I was looking forward to coming on and sharing some of these, because this also goes hand in hand to another reason why I wanted to get into management. I think naturally I want to continue to challenge myself, evolve, take the next step. You should never feel, settled. You should never be stagnant. You want to challenge yourself to be the best that you can. We got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. But as far as mentorship, it is vital to your development. And I have been incredibly lucky to have come across and worked with and worked for some of who I think are not only the most talented individuals within the space of the sports industry at whatever they do, but just some of the best people in general who, honest to God, looked out for me despite, regardless if it was, going to help their cause at their position. If I was leaving, they were helping that too, which I would like to think isn't necessarily going to help in the short term for wherever I'm at. But more so than anything else, mentorship is absolutely vital. And I've been so lucky to have some folks, and I can roll through quickly. I'd like to, mention where they were at each of the spots. And I've already mentioned a couple, but with the Rockcats, having a relationship and an opportunity to continue to stay in contact with Bill Dowling, who is the owner of the Rockcats. Bill's somebody who has been in the industry, and we'd need a whole nother podcast to go through his experience. But one was highlighted for about 10 years in the prime stages of George Steinbrenner was his right-hand man. And the stories that he would tell about, that, as I'm sure, coming from the Yankees and your experience, Mike, that you could definitely speak to that culture over there. But it's even as a Red Sox fan, I recognize the Yankee and the hierarchy. George Steinbrenner, as respected as they come. Well, Bill Dowling, he's helped me navigate some of the very difficult waters and decisions throughout my entire and at that time my very short career. And he's always had my best interest in mind, giving me some just absolutely great advice, and we stay in touch to this day. So he was someone who helped me get my start. The next was Ilka Cordesloma, as I mentioned, over with the Wolfpack. He's now the VP of ticketing with the Flyers. Lucky enough to keep in contact with him. He really gave me a lot of the tools from a sales standpoint, technique standpoint, to help me be successful, and then earn the opportunity to go over to URI. And when I got there, it was Maureen McCarthy, who is over the assistant AD of ticketing, as well as Leah Becky, the GM of the Ryan Center at URI. Both are just amazing at what they do, and you want to talk about two of the absolute nicest people in the world. They would be up there, I wish them the best over at URI forever. It's my alma mater too. So, they got a special place in my heart. So, the other piece while I was there was Erin, Dunn Rockenbach, who's the director of sales at PC. She was my regional director when I was working for Spectra Venue Management, and she was somebody who helped me as a new director figure out the odds and ends, because she had done something similar as far as taking over the reins at PC a few years before. So she was like, 3, 4, or however many years ahead of me in a similar role. Yes, a bigger school, more, big time sports at that time. I don't know if I want to say that now, because the king of basketball in Rhode Island is, but that's for another day. But really, jokes aside, she helped me a lot as far as navigating. She also helped me get involved with NATSO, who, is the National Association for Athletic Ticketing, and sports or ticket sales and operations. I'm sorry. And I was able to take part, and I'm now on the board for that, for NATSO. So, there's a lot of great people who have helped me get to where I am and always had my best interest in mind. currently, again, Bill Fagan, Tony Garrett from the Aspire Group, they welcome me with open arms, have provided me the opportunity to take over my dream job at UCONN. And, I just couldn't be happier, and I couldn't feel more grateful to have been come across and been, linked to so many great, not only employees, but more so just great people who, when they say, a lot of people can say they want what's best for you. They want to, develop you professionally, but there's only so many who actually follow through with that. And all those people I just mentioned have done that over and over again for me, and have always looked out for me. And I just couldn't be more grateful for it.
Oh, love it. I love it. And I love how, what I took away was it was like a chain, right? Mm-hmm. It's like everywhere you went, you built a strong relationship. You're still in touch with them now. And, and I'm sure there's been times over COVID where you were like, what am I doing here? And you have a phone call or a text or an email.
Calling, man. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's a support service there. And I think another great part that you mentioned with mentorships is you never know who's going to end up where, and you keep those contacts in, and you never know where it could eventually lead to a job. So I love those points. So I think pivoting now to probably one of the most exciting parts of your job is helping those young professionals get their foot in the door and really kind of get their feet wet in the industry. So as someone who's, you're always vetting, always looking for young talent, like, what are some of the main skills and traits that you look for in young professionals?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. And I hope that there are some aspiring, sports industry, either students right now or kids, I say kids, but, people who are thinking about potentially getting into the sports industry, and I think it's very important to understand. I always reflect back to what I had described as that story when I got the position with the Rockets. And maybe this isn't the best of me to expect this, but I can't ever forget the hunger. Like, I just want kids and people who are applying to truly be passionate. So that's my first piece. Like, I want to see and feel that passion. I want to know why, you're sitting in front of me and why you've applied to this job. I think right now is a little bit unique because there's a lot of people firing off, applications to every single type of job and whatever it is, it's automatically applied for. And it's not like it used to be, even just as, 10, 15 years ago. But I need you to tell me and show me as to why, you're here, and not just to be working in sports, but why sales? That's always a question that always takes me back. I'm always taken aback when I ask that question sometimes, because I think it throws some of the younger, applicants off. And they, I've even had responses, believe it or not, it was the only, it was the only job open here. And I just, it's like, God, man, I just wish that folks would understand that they need to put some more thought into why they deserve it, because this isn't, this is the real world, man. And at the end of the day, you got to recognize another comparison to sports. There's a winner and a loser, man. At the end, this isn't everybody getting trophies. I'm sorry to say, like it maybe has been throughout school and everything else. I can't speak to everybody's experience, but when you step outside the university and you step outside the school setting, there's one winner and one loser. No matter what it is you're talking about. And I feel like hopefully that resonates with some people, because, to quote the great Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last, man. And again, jokes aside, I really want folks to understand and think about why they're applying for things that they are, do their research, understand what it is you're going for, what the job entails. If you don't know 100%, you should be asking those questions. And then that leads me to my next point is I want persistence. There's a lot of people think, and I was actually a victim of this early on when I was applying for jobs out of college, was I don't want to bug them, and that couldn't be more opposite. I want you to bug me. You know why? Because people that are in positions of making decisions are very busy, and you need to, just as if you're a sales rep, and this shows that you have the potential to be good as a sales rep, is you need to make yourself the priority. As far as on somebody else's calendar, you need to make sure you're reminding them how much you deserve the job you're going for. Hey, I'm looking, you don't need to be disrespectful. You can be as courteous as possible and do it via email, via call, depending on the relationship. But you should be checking in, and you shouldn't just wait and I'll wait to hear back. No, I'm not talking every hour. I'm not talking even every day. But weekly, bi-weekly, after you've applied and especially spoken to the individual, please, you guys, help yourselves out and reach out and stay on them. You know, find that balance, again, not daily, but maybe, you know, weekly, bi-weekly, to shoot a quick note over. Hey, I'm just looking to see, I'm really excited and happy for the opportunity to speak with you. I want to see if anything's taken place with the decision for that job. And then the next piece really is show the desire to learn and be coachable. Because if I can have somebody who has zero sales experience, but they genuinely are passionate, they want to help people, they're good communicators, interacting with folks, and show that and display it, I can teach you how to sell. That's not my concern, but I need somebody who is a hard worker, passionate and persistent, and also has that competitive drive. That's something that is invaluable. And, I guess competitive drive / self-motivator. We need people that, get up, ready to roll. I can't be relied on, and no one can be relied on to get everybody fired up every single day or even throughout the day. You got to get that. You got to find that somewhere down within you and find that in your tank. And if you don't have that, I would find a way to figure it out because, you need to make sure that you're looking out for number one, yourself. And the way to do that is to get up every day, hungry, passionate, and willing to learn, and then even educate yourself at any turn you can. That's the thing that's going to separate you, is just being relentless. And, that's something that I pride myself on.
I don't know where to start. There's so much great content there. A lot of things you said, it really resonated with me. I think for the listeners out there and career seekers, if you don't have your why figured out yet, get it figured out. Why are you looking to be in the industry? And if you're interviewing for, say, a job to join Craig's team at UCONN, why UCONN? Why should Craig pick you over the next, the loaded talent pool that's coming now, right? There's so many people out there. So how are you going to separate yourselves? Be prepared, figure that out. Next, I love what you said. I'm a big advocate for it, but there's winners and losers. There's no participation trophies. I mean, I guess there are now in youth sports, but we could do a whole nother podcast on that. But we love to keep it transparent here, right? We're trying to help you grow. So at the end of the day, it is a loaded talent pool. We're not going to sugarcoat it. I'm sure Craig will get into this in a second, but it is right now. You have the class of 2019, the class of 2020. Plus all of the talented professionals that have got let go, unfortunately, from all of the teams around the country. So it is a loaded talent pool, and the industry is going to open up. It's going to open up bigger and better than ever. So Craig, what are some of the things from your perspective that a sport industry career seeker could be doing right now to help them be in the best position for when that industry does open up, to put them ahead of their competition?
Of course, yeah, and then great points on your end. I think right now there are and I touched on this a little earlier, it's such a different time from when it was even 10 to 15 years ago, where, you had only, monster.com put your resume out, or, a couple of those types of services. You could even really walk into a company with a printed out resume and, shake a hand, introduce yourself, and separate yourself that way. But that's really the main point here, everybody. Like, you need to be able to find a way to separate yourself, because you're not only just a piece of paper anymore that you handed in after introducing yourself. You're an electronic document out of however many else, that people are going to have to sort through. What is going to separate you, and, we can obviously chip away at a lot of things, but, more so in staying, it's a numbers game, just like everything else, just like sales. Okay. That's why there are call minimums, for sales reps, because it's at the end of the day, yes, I'm the biggest advocate of quality over quantity, but you can't deny the fact, and I never could argue this either, that you have a better chance of selling somebody out of 100 calls than you would out of 10 calls. It's just, you have a better opportunity to get hired if you are putting out as many feelers, as many connections, networking as much as humanly possible, going on all the different sites as possible, in order to get your name out there and make sure that people are aware that you are, looking and interested. And then the other piece is, especially now, building your brand. If there's a way in which you can do that. When I say that, there are so many awesome tools, from the social media to podcasts. Mike, yourself, you're a prime example of building your brand, and getting a following, if you will, as far as sharing what you do and your passion for the industry. That stuff gets recognized, believe it or not. Some may scoff at it, but you can't deny when somebody has a following and they've got, they lead a podcast like yourself, Mike. I'm always impressed by, the different things that you're involved in and how you've already equated yourself. I think people should look to you as far as somebody who does a lot of great things in order to put themselves in a fantastic position. And once things, especially in the current circumstances, die down, you're going to have some they're going to need the highest bidder, if you will. And I think that, everyone needs to understand that it's a numbers game. So get connected, from a sports industry standpoint, which if you're listening to this, that's what you're interested in. Teamwork online. If you're not on that and you're not filling out and getting your profile with your resume uploaded and up to date, and also, going through the filters of the jobs that you're interested in, make people work, make the system work for you. You can fill all that stuff out and get emails about the different positions to seek out what works best. You got to take that and then also look at LinkedIn Premium. Now there's opportunities for you to really pinpoint and try to find out the best fit for you. And that you're not alone. You have other tools that you can utilize, like the LinkedIn, the Teamwork Online, and just networking in general, that are going to help you. But the only other thing I will say, is that you need to make sure that you are consistently educating yourself. Don't ever lose that hunger. You never can know enough. I'm learning new things every single day. And that is by choice, and that is by not by choice. But when I say by choice, if you're not really, up to date with your Microsoft Office, from Excel to those, take an online class, watch a YouTube video, do those little things that are going to separate you, because again, it's about the separation. And if you have an opportunity to put something on your resume from an experience standpoint, proficient in Excel, and what have you, how about this? From kids who are trying to get into the industry, I hired someone who worked with me for the entire duration at the University of Rhode Island. His name is Tyler Foley, and he is now the director of sales there. He was promoted after I left, and he made himself as valuable as possible. And he is able to be utilized, which is one of the many reasons, in addition to him being great at sales and, a hard worker, he was able to do all the graphics because he had experience with, Photoshop. Like, those types of things are invaluable. And when you're talking about an industry who tries to maximize, each position, we talk about wearing all the different hats from minor league baseball. That is an employer's dream when you can do, multiple different things well. So don't forget that you got to do it well. But if you can do, and you can expand your horizons, your experience, get experience in the ticket office, the box office with the back end system, all of those things, and you compare that with staying persistent, being active on, the Teamwork Onlines and LinkedIn's and networking, you just got to take advantage of every opportunity that you're granted and try to seek some of those out as well.
100%. I love it. You hit on it there last, was those transferable skills. You may not be able to get a job in sports right now, but go find a part-time job or take a class, do something where you can gain other skills that'll transfer into whatever role you're looking to get into sports. And the big thing you said that I took away is the invest in yourself piece. Mm-hmm. Invest in yourself and your personal brand. Invest in a class, like you said, and read a book, get up early, watch a YouTube video, take notes on something you're interested in, do something. Because I guarantee one of the first questions you're going to ask, Craig, when this is all over, is what have you been doing the last 6 to 8 months?
Yes.
I mean,
that's the number one.
It's going to tell you a lot about somebody's character. So I love all those points, and I again thank you so much for taking the time. And I know you got a lot on your plate, so I don't want to take too much more, but I would love to, and I'll let you run with this however you want to go with it. Just get any final thoughts on anything we've talked about, anything we haven't. I would love to just kind of give the ball in your court and let you run with it.
Yeah, I would just say that, just going off of the last thought that we had, you need to be worried about, as much as you want to build your brand and let everybody know and make yourself more valuable, educate yourself, it's about what you're doing when no one's looking. It's about what you're doing, behind the scenes on your own time in order to make yourself more valuable. People weren't around when I started off, and I was making, appointments to go out and present at board meetings for the minor league team, then I would drive to the corners of Connecticut, and I'd be working 90 plus hours a week. All they saw was, oh, wow, we have more groups coming out. People don't always connect those things, but if you're looking for immediate validation, this isn't the industry, and if you're looking for that in general, you need to find it, not only to find in yourself, to motivate yourself. It needs to be enough for you when you say, I'm going to put my mind to something and do something and achieve it. It needs to be enough that you are proud of what you've done and the product that you've produced. And, for those who are looking for jobs, man, and discouraged because of the current circumstances, all I can say to you is, we're with you, man. You guys got to just make sure that you keep your head down, keep grinding, do the things that we went over today, invest in yourself, as Mike said, educate yourself, continue to network, and stay persistent. Okay. Things will get better. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Believe it or not. It might not seem like that sometimes, but you guys got to believe, man. And we need some faith. We need some optimism here, more so than anything else. And once things do get better, what position are you going to be in? Ask yourself that each day. Every time you wake up and you have something, that entire long checklist of things you want to get done, you're feeling like you're dragging. What's going to separate you at the time when people start to hire, in higher clips once all this is done? So, Mike, really appreciate you having me on, man. This was a great opportunity. I love chopping it up with you. And I wish you nothing but the best, and we'll be talking regardless, but this is great. It was a great opportunity.
100%. We'll be in touch really soon. And again, thank you so much for your time. So I know if anyone wants to get in touch with Craig, look him up on LinkedIn. I'm sure he'd love to have a conversation. And again, thank you so much. So on behalf of myself and Craig and the whole Game Plan U team, thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to spend with us. And we'll see you next time. Take it easy, everybody.
See you guys.